This is the Rising Goddess podcast with your host, Michelle Torrance. This is the space where when we start diving deep, we're talking spiritual, mental, and physical. We're getting real and connecting with ourselves in the most intimate ways. We'll be talking all things sacred sexual, relationship building, womb healing, connection through our bodies, how to use our sexual and sensual energies to create, manifest, and heal our lives, our individual and collective ancient feminine lines as well. We will learn from amazing goddesses who take time to share their wisdom and sacred healing magic, goddesses who are here in this world to be healers, teachers, guides, priestesses, warrioresses, shamans, and all sisters in rising. We'll get witchy, sassy, sexy, and saucy, talking all things that align us with our true nature and authentic selves, and creating a community of divine feminine rising to be a massive part in this shift of world healing. So grab some green juice, light up some cannabis, get your blankets, or sit by the pool, and let's rise up together. Catch you on the inside, dolls. Hello, my rising goddesses. I wanted to come in here before we play this episode so I can just give you a little bit of a background on Blair, and why I chose to interview her and how this all came about. So this whole episode is on EFT tapping, and you're thinking to yourself, why, Michelle, are we talking about EFT on this station? Well, first of all, let me tell you, a lot of people have asked me, and they ask me all the time, where did you start? How did you start really tapping in and making those huge changes that allowed you to start releasing the sexual shame and rise up? And I'm going to be honest with you, EFT is where it is. That's what helped me. That's what got me started. And I still refer to it throughout my life. And it's an amazing, wonderful tool. So Blair is an amazing life coach. She helps women completely change their lives all over the US, Canada, and UK. And she is a master at EFT with her clients and her coaches. And she teaches how to utilize EFT to really start to shift mindsets, beliefs, and go after your goals and your dreams. So this is a really fun and exciting podcast, and really just to let you know, we are both so real. You've come to the Rising Goddess podcast because it is super real. So I hope you enjoy it, and let me know comments if you like it. And then, of course, like, share, and let's build up this community and keep it going. So I hope you enjoy the show. All right. Hello and welcome to, I don't have a number for this episode yet, so it's going to be a surprise for all of us. But today is the first interview for the Rising Goddess podcast. And as you can see, as I introduced her before you got into this, we've got Blair with us here. And Blair is amazing. I love her. She's fabulous. And she's got some wonderful, wonderful tips and tools for you. We're going to talk today about EFT and just all of the amazing things. A lot of women have asked me, where did you get started? How did you get started on your journey on rising and awakening, removing things? And EFT is where I started.
Sorry, splashing myself with water.
This is great. Before we get into this, Blair and I have been on here actually for about 2 hours now trying to get all this to work, and it is day 2 of retrograde. So we're just rolling with it. We've got our crystals, we have our sage, and we are just going to work with retrograde and just allow it to happen. So this is how it works on the podcast. You guys have heard the first 2 before. I'm a rambler, so sometimes we'll get off on tangents. We'll have a wonderful conversation, but we're going to add value and we're going to have a wonderful time. So first question that I want to ask you, and I'm sure we've heard this on other podcasts. I was inspired by Liz D'Alto, but what do you love about being a woman right now?
Oh my gosh. That is such a good question. What do I love about being a woman right now? You know what? I feel like now is such an exciting time for women because we have all of these resources, and with social media especially, to be able to get connected with other women and these really like empowering and just like just amazing community groups, right? It's like I feel like that was the thing that I felt like before social media really kind of like came on the scene, was that I felt just like really isolated and alone because I was a stay-at-home mom, and at one point I was a single mom, and I just felt so alone all the time. And I think that you really, your negative voices really start to take hold, and you feel like you're completely all alone. And then if you don't have any really core girlfriends or that those niche of people that really get you, you feel even more isolated. And so it's just nice that now we have this amazing ability to connect with other women that are like-minded, that are like us, that are in this evolving, conscious thinking, awakening realm. And like my husband thinks I'm like some gypsy witch. He doesn't know what's going on. He was like, I married a gypsy or something. So it's just nice, right? Because I have my space to connect with other women and really allow me to even rise up even more and really feel more empowered and really love myself more through the process. I think that it's the most exciting time to be a woman because of all that.
I love that answer. I think it's absolutely perfect. I think you're right. And, I think a lot of us right now, which is kind of a scary time for women out there, a lot of us are really tuning and tapping into our witchiness, which, first of all, for me, I think the word, we're taking back that word. All it is just a connection with the land and the four realms that we are in. So I think it's great. I think, and then community is a big point too that I wanted to kind of touch on. I know for me, and I'm not sure for a lot of my listeners out there, but I'm going to kind of assume, which I don't assume a lot, but growing up, I did not have a lot of female friends. I resonated a lot more easily with the boys. I always had more boyfriends than, not boyfriends, but, friends who were male, right? Who identified as males. And then girls. I always felt this jealousy connection. I always felt this competition. And as I've been growing and meeting more women, the community is such a wonderful thing, and being able to tap into a connection with other women without that competition or without that jealousy. It's really been opening up, and as we continue to heal from a lot of this toxic masculinity, which is a lot what we talk a lot about on my channel, on my podcast here, as we start to shift from and heal that toxic masculinity, I think we're going to see a lot more women communing together and coming together, like red tent events, which are wonderful. I'm not sure if you've heard of those.
I have not heard of those, which I heard it on the podcast that I listened to where you were sharing about moon cycles, and I was like, the hell is this red tent event?
Yes, red tents are wonderful. Where women come together during their bleed, and they really are allowing themselves to just tap into their fiery feminine energies and really align up, and then co-create and co-connect with our tribe and our sisters. I think you'd like this book, and a lot of my readers out there, listeners out there will too. I'm reading a book. It's the feminine initiation path, and there's 4 different types of goddesses and different clans that we become a part of, and then we connect together. So it's just really interesting to see the different types of goddesses and clans that we come, whether we're a warrior, right? And we've got your really intense, strong women. Then you've got your queen of the water flow, and then really nice and service oriented and stuff. So getting off on a tangent here.
But I think the beautiful thing about the community piece and being surrounded with women in a safe environment where they don't feel judged and it's not this catty thing, it allows us to more fully embrace ourselves and love ourselves and not get so stuck in this thought pattern of we have to look a certain way and be a certain way to be accepted and to be loved, especially when it comes to like the opposite sex, we have this, you know, especially for teenage girls, right? We just go through so much.
Yes.
And I feel like this is just so great because it can really help women just like really find themselves more and be accepted, because I went through the same thing. Like I felt like I had like a couple girlfriends that I felt close with, but it was always this feeling of the competition, and I just felt like men were easier. There was less drama. There's just like, I felt more at ease around them instead of women, because I feel women, we go to this place of, is she prettier than me? Is she fitter than me? She looks better in that than me. You know, and we just start judging ourselves based off of all our female in our environment. And
Yeah.
that's all we just start doing. We just start nitpicking ourselves. And
Absolutely. And you know, I think it's especially when you're talking about younger kids, you know, you and I have daughters around the same age. I think they're just a month apart, really.
oh, really?
Yeah. 'Cause I'm pretty sure they're a month apart. But you know, as we continue to evolve in this podcast and everything, and as I continue to expand my teachings, I think what a lot of this has come down to, and as we've been conditioned to believe that that's the way women are, that that's just the way it is, and it's not. That's not the truth. That's not the light. That's not the grounding authenticity of the female embodiment that's here. So it's exciting to talk with other empowered women. It's exciting to talk with women who are continuing to either start their rise or where they're at and continue to rise up. So I'm just really excited for all of this. So before, Blair and I could talk about all sorts of things forever and a day.
Right?
But this whole show today is really about EFT. And so, you know, Blair, why don't you go ahead, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then tell us how you got started into EFT, what it's done for you, why, all these things. So go ahead and take it away.
Okay, so I mean, just a little background on me. I am a wife, I am a mom, I have 2 kiddos, and my daughter is just turned 16, and then my son is like 6.5. I work from home. I am much like Michelle. I work with women primarily. I'm a transformation coach. I really specialize in like mindset development, manifestation, and self-love and self-care practices. This is really what I crave and what I'm passionate about, is really helping women, like what we were talking about, right? Really embodying themselves and figuring themselves out and breaking through those limiting beliefs and seeing, you know, what they're capable of, and healing those wounds that maybe they've had in their past life, or their child self. That's like where I really love to get in with women, is like talk about the inner child work that we all need to do work around, right?
Right.
No doubt. But I really love being able to be that mentor that helps activate that in other women, so that they see that they have the power inside of themselves to be, you know, conscious and aware of the things that they can shift and change, and that at any point they can shift and change, and that they can become very powerful manifestors in their life and really own their greatness. Like, I freaking geek out on that. I love it. And I really kind of started down this journey. I mean, really honestly, probably after I had my oldest, I gained a lot of weight with her. I was like at my heaviest, I was 230 pounds. And being, you know, in this place where I just didn't feel connected to my body at all. Like, it literally felt like my soul had been put into like someone else's body, because it just felt so foreign to me, on top of being a new mom. And I was a young mom. I was newly 21 at the time. So any friendships that I did have were completely gone, right? Because they're all doing the 21 run. I'm at home with the baby. Nobody want to come visit my ass.
Right.
So I'm really isolated, very alone, on top of having a lot of weight on me. And I was becoming very depressed. And that's really what I feel like was the starting point for me with that journey of realizing the importance of the self-care and the self-love practices that really got me getting through my depression, getting through my anxiety, starting to take better care of myself, and embodying being the mother that I wanted to be and being a better influence to my daughter, right? And realizing like I didn't want to make the same mistakes. I didn't want to do things, like I didn't want her growing up and seeing that this is how a woman treated her body, or how she talked to her body, or how she felt, or how she had to be, right? So I feel like that was really the starting point, but it wasn't until about close to 6 years ago when I really started growing my own business and really owning that this was what I really wanted to do, was to help women through this process, because I was once again going through probably one of the deepest, darkest moments in my life. I was actually severely depressed after my second, and I lovingly call it now the breakdown. That was my breakthrough, because I was curled up in a ball in my closet and crying my eyes out, contemplating suicide. I really didn't think I was a good enough mother. I didn't think I was a good enough wife. I didn't think I was a good enough friend or daughter. I just felt like an emotional drain, a financial drain to everyone around me. And it was like in that moment where I had that shift in my mindset, it clicked, where I asked myself that better question of, but what if I'm good enough? What if I am worthy enough? Like, what if I can do this? Like, what if I can pull myself out of this? Could I do? Like, how can I be the change? And I really realized that just that little glimmer of, I have it inside of me. I can do this. And that's where I really started going into, once again, self-care, self-love, really heavy mindset work is where I really started diving into and really making my focus about helping other women within these same situations, which really then led me really down into my manifestation. Like, I'm a manifestation junkie at heart.
Yeah.
And really, honestly, when you get the self-love and you get the mindset and the self-care, and you're really getting your body and feeling, you can align to any goal you have. Like, it's all about getting your body there. And
absolutely. I'm going to stop you real quick because you have so many amazing nuggets that I just kind of wanted to touch on some things, especially for my listeners out there, because we do have a lot of beginning rising goddesses who, or even just any goddess out there who has been stuck on a plateau of self-care. And I really want to hone in on self-care. And I think we see a lot of memes out there, right? Self-care is a bubble bath and champagne on Fridays with a blowout and a pedicure. And while self-care can be those amazing things, the self-care that Blair is really talking about is the hard questions, right? The questions that she turned in, the work within herself, the getting up and taking action and making choices towards physical wellness, towards physical body-mind connection wellness, which is what we talk a lot about here in this podcast as well. And, you talked a lot about inner child work too. And I think that is where so many people really need to dive into. And I fully believe EFT kind of leads us into that as well. And some people, I think, are afraid to go to their inner child because it's such a vulnerable state. It's such a vulnerable phase. There we are again, innocent, not knowing who to, trusting all, but not knowing where to go and what to do, and so impressionable. And it's such a vulnerable time. And for many women, men out there, a lot of traumatic things happen during that impressionable time where then they just shut down. And so touching up on that inner child work is something that is, I fully support and really believe that is absolutely important. I know it's really affected and helped me really work up and level up in my own awareness and healing and belief removal. And then, yes, another thing you touched on too, which there's two things. First of all, the being good enough. I think that, and I know when we get farther in here into this interview that you're going to talk about some like little simple affirmations and the process, really of a simple process of what EFT is. But so for the people who are watching the video, they'll be able to watch a little simple little thing. But so make sure you head over to my YouTube channel, all of my listeners, the Rising Goddess movement. Anyways, so the good enough part is really something that I think ties back into the comparison thing as women is what we do, which again is a conditioned thing. And just like anything that we are taught, conditioned, we can be untaught or relearn. And that's what I love about what you're doing and the clients and how you help people, because you're not only helping them with the healing, but you're stopping momentum on what's been taught and the conditioning, and you're shifting this perspective to a new way of learning something. And that's really exciting. And then the last part, I know you guys are like, come on, Michelle, let's keep hearing Blair talk. The last thing that you brought up, which has just been wonderful, was you said being the mother that I've always wanted to be. And there's two parts to that hit me when you were talking about that. Not only were you talking about being the mother that you had envisioned yourself to be for your daughter, but also being the mother to ourselves that we have not been, or that we maybe did not receive, not intentionally maybe, just based off of the teachings and the trainings and the conditionings of our mothers. So the work that you're doing is not only healing lines of shame or pain for moving forward to shift, but you're also healing ancient lines from mother energy and grandmother energy by allowing you to mother yourself in a way that you want to mother your children, which is absolutely amazing and I love.
You're so sweet.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is the thing, is that I feel like there's several different groups of people when they come into this like personal development realm and they're ready. Like you get the, you have definitely the people that they're noobs and they're really ready to start jumping in, and they fall really in like two different categories. It's like you have the ones that are doing the personal development work and they call it that they're doing the work because they're listening to all the podcasts. They're on this right now. They're reading all the books. They're listening and digesting and watching and reading, and they feel like they're doing all the things. So they're saying to themselves, I'm doing the work. But really, the work is the work outside of the personal development, right? It's you ask the better questions, but then you go do the work on yourself. You dig into inner child. You do the body work. You do the meditating. You do the visualizing. You do hypnosis. You do tapping. You do everything you need to do to heal, and then learn how to reprogram and reframe the beliefs and the stories and shift the paradigms to new ones that are more empowering so that you can reach your goals. And I think that that's where most people get stuck. They think they're doing all the work over here and they're conscious and they're aware, but that's just the very first step of being like, okay, I know I need to change this. And then they go listen to a bunch of stuff and then they're like, why hasn't it changed yet? And they haven't started doing the action steps and the work.
Exactly. And that's, and you teach manifestation, which this lines right up, because a lot of people out there who, they hear The Secret or they watch it for the first time and they're like, okay, I'm putting it out there and now it's just coming.
Right.
And I'm going to sit here and just wait for it to
$1 million.
Right? I am a millionaire now. But, I think, it's definitely taking the action of the work. It's more than just reading, listening, digesting. It's actioning as well, applying what it is. Yeah. I tell my clients a lot, and I used to tell my coaches, learn, apply, fail, repeat. Learn, apply, fail, repeat. Because
you will fail.
Yeah, because you will. And when you can inevitably understand that it took 100 times for the light bulb to pop up, then you know that it's going to take time for you to go through this healing process, this self-care process, this work that you're doing, so.
And it never stops.
No.
I think that everybody, I love that when I talk to my clients, they feel like there's like this like end goal, like the minute they reach that, it's like everything.
I've arrived.
I am done with my work. Sign me up. I've earned everything now. It should just come to me. And I'm like, no, like there's always that next level of growth. There's always a new mountain to climb. There's always new things to unpeel back and dig into. Like it never stops. It never ends.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Right. It is. It's a wonderful thing because when you have stopped, then that means that we're no longer in this time and space, and we've moved on to another
Yeah.
dimension. And yeah, and then also too, I think when it's never going to stop. We're always constantly, if we're doing it right, peeling back a layer, expanding, growing, healing, reviving, renewing, refreshing, redoing, leveling up. And we do it in all these different ways. And we came here, if you follow the podcast, if you've been following me for a while, we came here, my belief in this existence, for the contrast, right? If you're Abraham Hicks followers, then you fully understand what I'm saying. We chose the contrast so that way we could co-create and learn, expand, and heal, and keep going. So this is just really exciting, and I'm loving it. So let me ask you,
Sure.
first of all, what is EFT? Let's do the basics. What is it?
Okay, so EFT is short for Emotional Freedom Technique, or other words known as tapping. And so basically, the easiest way I can describe it is like, like how, have you ever heard of acupressure and acupuncture, right? And how they have like different meridians, energy points like running through your body, and you have different points on your body. It's basically tapping into that same system in a sense. It's chat system, and it's just helping you recondition. It can be used for a lot of things. Some people use it for like anxiety, depression, physical pain, women to use it around their menstrual periods when they're cramping. What I love about it is that I feel like it really works so well when you're working with limiting beliefs and these negative stories and these thought patterns that start to pop up for women when they're trying to do the work and they're trying to, go to that next level or start their path, and they have all of these like, oh, you can't do that, oh, this, that, and the other, all those worthiness issues, the inner child stories, all that stuff. And you can really address it and help you rework it in a more empowering way, and repattern it into a new conditioned habit, like, and actually do it for yourself. And it's really easy and simple to do. And I find this can work even for clients that are, fellow entrepreneurs, and they're stressed out about new business growth or income, a new income goal, or even for clients that are working on physical, like transformations, fitness goals, emotional eating, motivation, all that kind of stuff. Like any kind of limiting belief you have, it works with anything and everything.
Mm-hmm. And to top on that, when Blair's talking about meridian points, Tony Robbins talks a lot about, which has helped me a lot, but he talks a lot about tying pain and pleasure to certain experiences in our life, right? So far, what Blair's talking about is you're doing the work, right? You're applying it, you're really starting to dive into, and then all of a sudden you come up against a wall of some sort, right? You're like, there's confusion, there's emotions, you're angry or you're sad, and all of these things start to happen. This is where, at this moment in time, where tapping can come through. So how I feel it's helped me, and you may agree with this, is just like the 5-second rule. It instantly stops the momentum and focuses your brain on one aspect, or this healing, right? And as you're tapping, which you can explain that as well, it shifts. So what I'm thinking and what I'm believing is happening, and definitely correct me if I'm wrong, is that when we start that tapping, we're no longer associating the pain with the experience. We're shifting it into the pleasure part and understanding how to associate a pleasure to this experience of some sort. And it's retrograde, people. If you're listening to this live up until April 15th, we are in retrograde. So communication from brain to mouth may not be as eloquent as other times.
But that's a great way of putting it, because it really is about reframing the negative thought and bringing the awareness to the thought and helping you work through the emotion. We need to have the body work piece connected to, because this is the thing. Most people, they have stress come up and they try to outthink the problem, right? They try to talk about the problem, they think about the problem, they're overthinking it, they're freaking out, and oh, why am I thinking this? Da, 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 da. And they're so up in their head. Emotions are coming from the body. This is where they're coming from. So we have to address the body, we have to address the emotion. We need to allow ourselves to feel the emotion. You need to be able to speak it and say it and feel it and drop down in body. And I feel like that's tapping taps into that, because when you first do it, how I do it with my clients is that we first address the fear head on. And we are literally talking about the fear head on. I'm like, ego, if you're new to that, with that term, that it's just the subconscious brain. It's that inner child, that those fears, those doubts. Let's just let her talk for a little bit and let her have a vomit session. Let her say whatever she needs to say and let it all come up. Feel it, let it come up. But then through the tapping process, as you're starting to recondition it and say things, it's literally like, it's like calming down the system and setting the new neural pathway. Because that's all it is that all these beliefs are just stories and reconditioned neural pathways in our brain to immediately go to that thought, because that's the thought we've always had for, how many years, 30 something years of your life. It's always, well, no, I'm just not good enough, because I've always felt I'm not good enough because, this story and this story and this situation and this person said this to me and I felt this way at this point, right? It's addressing it and helping you rewire it so it starts becoming a new neural pathway. And that takes work, right? It's just the repetition of it. So yeah, tapping is one of those great things, because like you said, it's quick, it's simple, it starts that process of it and really starts to help you detach the anxiety, I think, that comes up for so many people with the emotion of the fear that they're having. They start getting really anxious and all up in their head.
Yeah.
But you really need to drop down into body and really just allow themselves to feel without judgment and allow that to come out, whatever it looks like. As ugly as it's got to get, let it come out.
Yep. It's funny when you're talking about that. The first time that my best friend actually made me cry. It was the first time I had cried. I had allowed myself to cry was in January of 2016, and I hadn't allowed myself to cry for a very long time because my belief was that if you cried, then you believe everything was hopeless and there's no other way and it's weakness and you can't do that. And so I had to do a few sessions myself just to allow myself to release the emotion. Now, coming from an addict who has run away from everything, what I love so much about EFT is not only does it put you in a bubble of you'll feel uncomfortable, the physical sensations of uncomfortableness, but it puts you in this bubble of safety where you can face your fear head on. And when you were talking about that, it just reminded me, about what Brene Brown says about how shame only lives in the dark. And when you bring it up to light, great Scott.
Great Scott.
When you bring it up to light,
sounds like the perfect timing of that. I'm not even.
I allow and receive all that comes through. But it can't survive anymore. And just like as an addict, you're running so when you stop and you turn and face your fear, you're no longer running. And that is what I love so much about EFT, is that it provides you this safety bubble to face your fear without running away from it and going towards your addiction, whether it be food, drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever your addiction vice is.
Mm-hmm.
So Blair, will you show us what does a simple sample tapping session round, like what would be a common one that you would say, like maybe a lot of women start off with, where they feel, what common feeling or belief that usually pops up, and what type of sample simple EFT run through could you do to kind of show our audience and our followers here what it is that it looks like and how it goes?
Okay. So I feel like a typical one is the unworthiness, right? I feel like everything can almost be traced back in some way, shape, or form to I'm just not good enough for this thing, right? I'm not good enough for the money I want to earn. I'm not good enough for that relationship. I'm not good enough to have that body. I'm not good enough, whatever, right? I feel like there's always a underlying layer of unworthiness. So I feel like that's typically one that I will do when I do like a tapping session with, whether that I usually like I'll do if I do like more like a group setting, like within like a group setting of my clients, because I feel like we're all kind of really addressing that unworthiness, right? And so simply what I would do is I would first get them to assess on a scale of 0, where are they feeling right now? Like when they think about that thing that makes them feel unworthy, or that anxiety of feeling unworthy, like to really address the emotion in their body on a scale of 0 being like, oh my God, I feel freaking amazing. I'm like laying on a beach drinking a margarita. Life
as fuck.
I am as fuck right now. Ain't nothing can screw with my vibe, right? You're there. Or 10 is like, I'm ripping my hair out. Everything's falling apart. I'm like, literally, I'm so consumed with emotion. Like I feel like the air has been sucked out of the room. Like it's that level of panic attack, or just so deep in a hole of depression, you barely can move. Because I mean, I feel like anxiety and the stress, it can affect people in different ways. Some people become very like panicky, where others become very reclusive and they go and hide and they don't want to talk to anybody, do anything, and they're just in that deep hole. So it's like, it could be any of those things, but whatever your 10 looks like to you, where this is like worst case scenario, life is over kind of thing, right? You're worn out and done. So to first kind of gauge where you're at on that, because essentially what we want to do is through the tapping process, you want to get that number as close to 0 as possible. If you're in like a short time frame and you're using it maybe in like, because I have some clients where they'll use it when they're like, I know some people do it for like public speaking, or like, they have anxiety about something going in. They've done this with kids right before tests, and they've taught kids how to do it with testing to kind of prep them. If you can get it below, which is amazing. It is totally amazing. And I totally urge any moms who are on this and they really want to learn this and teach it to their children, so beneficial for them. And they've seen that test scores go up with kids when they teach them this. And they have less instances of bullying, and their self-esteem goes up. They participate better in class, like everything all around, it just improves. So side note to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You're gonna just a little nugget right there. If you can get it below 5, I feel like if you're in a state of like you don't have the time to really just like work it as close as you can to 0, but if you can get it below 5, I feel like we're on a good path. Or for some of you that it's like you have been living in such a perpetual stress, to 0 is it's like the person who needs to lose 100 pounds. You cannot focus on losing 100 pounds all in one day. It has to be done in little milestones. Like let's just get it moving down, right? As far as the momentum. Yeah, right. Get the momentum running. Like that's what matters most, is that if you're at a 10 and you can get to an 8, freaking sweet. Like don't judge it. Like you dropped, right? Like you got it to go down.
And I think I'm going to stop you real quick. The most important thing, if you guys are listening to this, I want you to listen to this right now. Don't judge it.
Exactly.
Don't judge yourself. Just like in meditation, meditation is not for you to stop all thought. Meditation is for you to allow the thought to move through while you focus back on your breath without judgment. That is key. So keep going. Sorry, I just had to throw
I'm glad that you highlighted that, because I feel like with this, it can be like that, right? Where people will start to do it for themselves and they start they go right up in their head and they really start overthinking the process. I'm doing this wrong. I'm doing this wrong. And then, it don't go down far enough. I must suck, I'm not good enough at this, and then throw it out the window that it's not going to work for them, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just about removing judgment in all areas of your personal growth journey. Just like, don't judge yourself. Like, you have to bring in love and compassion and patience and honor that you're doing the best you can.
Yes.
So tapping, you will start, so there's certain tapping points, and this is the thing, I feel like there's a lot of teachers out there that do tapping, and you will see tons of different ways to do tapping. There's the typical spots that I've done and what I've learned and what I love, but I've seen other teachers do it in completely different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that's another thing. It's like, it's no wrong. I feel like there's no wrong way to necessarily do it. Right.
No,
Like,
because the whole point of it is for you to tap into the energy
yes.
of shifting, stopping that momentum and shifting into the other momentum. So I fully agree. It's like a workout. You cater it and manipulate it and mold it to your personal existence right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know how you want me, I mean, do you want me to demonstrate? I know, like, for podcast listeners, they're not going to be able to see it, you know, and for people watching the video, it's up to you.
Right. Well, what we can do is, why don't you go ahead and say typically one thing that, like, what you would say if you were saying around, like, what kind of affirmation you would say and where you start to tap. So this is going to be really for, this particular section. You can hop onto the YouTube part. So that way, if you want to get started and just kind of see what it looks like, then hop onto the YouTube channel to be able to watch this. For my listeners who are driving or just listening right now, you're not going to be able to watch it, but you're going to be able to hear the words that she's saying. And what's important is really listening and tuning into the words that she's saying, because that's going to help you. And then once you get to a place where you can watch the YouTube, I'll put down on the YouTube marker, down into the show description, what mark and what minute that you can go to, so that way you can start to actually see what it is that she's doing, just to kind of do it. And you can just do one round. You don't have to go through, all of it, and then explain how many times or however, but all that.
I can essentially, so I can show, like, I mean, you're going to be tapping in different places. It doesn't matter what hand you use, whatever feels not, the whole process of this is do what feels right to you. Start learning. This is also, I think, what's so great about it is that you learn how to start listening to your own intuitive voice. You start allowing that voice to come in, and don't start judging her or questioning her. Let her tell you where to go, right? Like, I did this with a one-on-one client, and I was walking her through, and she, in the middle of it, she was like, no, I want to say this. And I was like, dude, say that. Like, your intuitive voice is coming right up. Like, tell her to tell me to shut the fuck up.
Right.
That is totally fine
That's
with me.
Right. You're listening.
That.
And the fact though is that she listened, and she listened to that. So keep going.
Yeah. So when I start out, we're basically going to be tapping on the side of our hand, and it's called the karate chop, actually, this move. I honestly don't know all the other tapping points and what their names are. I just love this one, and I love the sound. It's like the karate chop. Maybe that's why it stuck to me. Yeah. So when I'm doing this one, this is where we're going to let the ego really dump everything out. And so it would sound something like, I feel so unworthy right now. And I would have the other person repeat it back to me if I'm doing it with a client. But obviously, if you're listening, you'd just be saying everything. I feel so unworthy right now. I'm so stressed right now. Everything feels like it's falling apart. I just don't think I'm good enough. I've never been good enough, but I truly love and honor and respect myself. So I will speak the negative thoughts, and then I will frame it at the end, but I truly love and accept myself. I honor myself, something of that nature. I just love and accept myself. And I would continue going through. And so you'll have a tapping spot at the top of your head. You'll have the top of your eyebrow kind of closer to like your nose bridge, and you would follow the socket around to the crease of your eye, and then it would go down below your eye, below your nose, below your mouth, like in that crease in your chin. Yeah, the chin dent. And then you'd be tapping right here on your chest. And like I said, I've seen people go like this, or like this, or one or the other, and then you're tapping underneath here, underneath your arm, like where your bra strap is for most women would be here. And what I like to do is after I've kind of done this and I've really kind of done a good vomit sesh, right, where the karate chopping, for those that can't see me, I'm kind of doing, I will go through and do again, kind of as I start tapping from here and going along all those spots that I just listed, it would be something the same. Like, and I would, I feel so unworthy because I can't ever seem to, do anything right. I feel unworthy because every time I want to try to eat better, I'm emotionally binge eating. I don't feel like I can earn that much money. Like, I would go through and address those things, and I would do one fluid. And then I would come back around and start doing the affirmation pieces and start reframing. So it sounds something like, I know that I love myself, even though in this moment it feels really hard. I know that I can love myself more through this. I know that I am worthy. What I want, I know I can have. I am confident in my abilities. I know that I have the power over food. I know whatever amount of money I want to earn, I am divinely, oh my gosh, I can't even think now. It's divinely mine, or like,
Yes.
right? Like, I would go through and I would say those things and start reframing it. I go through and I go through and I go through. And the process is to start helping the stress start to lower and start to go down. And so you can take a break if you're doing this for yourself, right? Or if you're doing this with a client, like for those of you that maybe are listening to Michelle that are also other life coaches and entrepreneurs, and they work with women, or and you're working with somebody, you can stop and be like, where's your number at right now? And do a check-in, or you do a self check-in. Where are you at right now? Oh, you were at a 10 before, but now you're at an 8. Awesome. Like, let's breathe into that, right? Like, we can go again and we can reframe it again, or allow yourself to say whatever comes up, and tell yourself whatever you need to hear, and start. I feel like it's almost it's that sweet spot where you get to be your own inner cheerleader, right? Because that intuitive voice starts to come up and she starts to talk to you. Like, it's okay. We love you. We forgive you. You are worthy. You are amazing. You can do this. Like, whatever you desire is rightfully yours. Like, just keep going and reprogramming it and doing it over and over and over until you get as close as you can down to a number that you feel comfortable with.
Right. Absolutely. And I love that. And I think one of the most, I think is really great about this, and I think this is really just more of a scientific as well as the mental and spiritual part. But, when you're tapping, and if you're following along on the video, or if you're watching, when you're tapping, when she's tapping on her karate chop, and she's letting the ego basically spew it out. She's letting the ego rant everything. What that does is, by you allowing your ego to rant everything out, you are creating space for your higher self to come through and listening. So you're getting rid of that static. I don't know if you guys have cable tech TVs, or your cable techs come out, and sometimes they're like, you have extra static or noise or something somewhere. There's extra staticky energy. And by you allowing yourself to dump that ego and let the ego just get it all out, all those fears, all those anxieties, all those unworthiness thoughts, by letting her spew that out in a safe environment, you're getting rid of that static. You're clearing it out, and now you're able to, as you progress, as Blair's saying, you're going lower and lower and lower in your anxiety level. As you progress to go lower, then your higher self, because you're getting more and more in line, you're getting more and more in tune, and so now your higher self is able to come up and speak the truth, which is, you are loved, and I am supported, and I am forgiven. And even though I may talk very loud, I still love, honor, and respect myself. All of these things, by speaking it, right? Words are spells, and every time we speak, we are casting spells upon ourselves or others, and what it is that you are speaking to yourself. And so this is what I really love about the whole experience of tapping, is that it allows you to spew and get out without judgment in a safe environment, to create the space and allow your higher self to come through to provide and show that clarity. you know?
And you need to allow the emotions to come through with the words, right?
Oh,
I think
most
that is
definitely.
probably the most important piece, is that if you feel, I mean, say everything that you need to say, let the vomit session start to happen. And for most people in the very beginning, they're gonna cry.
Oh,
Most of my clients in the very first, because for my clients, I do a personal, when I do a one-on-one with them and I'm doing a personalized tapping session, we've already kind of dug in a little bit. We're already addressing a limiting belief. We've already done a little bit of inner child work. We've already visualized her and had a conversation with her. And we've done some work with her. So then when we come back, then out of that, and we start to do the tapping session on top of it, I mean, it's just an emotional dump session,
oh,
which
most
is,
definitely.
but it is so therapeutic when you allow the emotion to come up, address it, say it, and then have that conversation back to her in that intuitive voice, letting your highest self come through with the tapping. That really kind of extra lays that foundation to the neural pathways to recondition that new voice and that new belief inside of you. And one thing that I really think, if you really want to take this up a notch, I really think it's best to that for, if you know what your element is, for those of you that are really into astrology and you know what your element is, you ground yourself with your element, right? Like air, water, ground, or earth, fire, right? And you get yourself grounded in your element, maybe do the tapping session in your element. That only helps amplify your energy with it. Or if you're like, I don't even know any of those things and I don't really care to kind of know, like, I feel like your audience probably would care to know, and they probably already do. So they're probably already on
Or
this
they're probably researching it right now.
right now. Like, what does that mean, right?
All my Scorpios, you guys know you're already water. So.
But honestly, water for everything is such a good conductor for emotion and energy.
Yes.
So for me, I feel like going in the shower for me already is like, that's that state for me to really get in there. Like if I'm having a really emotional bad day, I'm just processing something, I get in the shower and it's just like, let's go. Like you just cry it out in the shower, and it literally, and that's such a great time to do the tapping, is to literally just let it all flood out, right? Let the emotions come out, do your karate chop. Yeah, I suck at life. Everything's
coming out, you know.
I hate myself, right? And let it out, and then reprogram it, then start speaking the empowering words, do that tapping, go through it, breathe into it, really feel it, let the water help cleanse yourself, and visualize it just taking all the negative, pouring it down the drain. And one thing that I just learned from one of my mentors, Katie Pasternak, who I freaking love. She taught me that afterwards, that you just hug yourself or stroke yourself like this. It's very soothing and immediately like signals to the nervous system. It's like inner child. It's like this hug that your nervous system needs. And you can follow that right after the end of whether you're in the shower or not. This is even just anytime, right? You're just like, I just need to love me.
That's that mothering that we come back to, allowing yourself to mother yourself afterwards, right? Because when we have our time, right, we fall, we skin our knee, or we fall off our bike, or whatever the case is, where we run to our mother figure, whatever that figure is. And if that mother figure is a healthy relationship, and at that moment in time, the soothing happens. And I think it's really important, and it's important to be able to soothe yourself, because you are going to be going through a lot of this growth. When I started tapping, it was pretty much like basically opening up Pandora's box. And once you open it, you are going to be going through it. And I define and I describe my experience of, really, it's almost like walking through this field of thorns, and then utilizing, as I continue to find a thorn and face that thorn, I grab onto it and utilize it to climb up the thorns to get to my roses. And tapping is really the first thing that really did this. It really aligns and connects body, mind, spirit all in one, stops momentum, redefines, reprograms, just like Blair's saying, even in the chemical, the biological, human, amazing, miraculous brain that we have. It shifts all of that. And so it all works together.
Yeah.
So this is great. And thank you so much for sharing, a simple round, so that way people can kind of come back to this. So what are a couple of simple affirmations? I know for me, I create my own now. I've been able to transition to create them. I create them for clients as they start to transition into their own awareness and flip and create their own affirmations. But what would you say are some simple affirmations for somebody to just get started, or as they're tapping, one that you really, one of the main ones that I know is I love and honor and respect myself, even though ... I still love, honor, and respect myself. So do you have any other small affirmations, or maybe anything that you would do and write down or say to yourself after a session that some of our listeners can just kind of either write down and maybe just kind of tap into that particular affirmation energy, how that means for them?
It would be along the lines of, I am worthy. I am worthy of everything that I desire. I am worthy of abundance. I am worthy of love. I love myself. I have the power inside of me to reach any goal that I desire. I am an infinite being and soul. Things like that. Those empowering statements to ourselves, even saying the things, I forgive myself, I love myself,
that's huge.
I'm ready, I am ready to see things differently. I'm ready, I think that's a huge one, because I think for some people that they're just starting, or they're really butting their head up against something, right? They start getting into the tapping and they just are having a hard time hearing the intuitive voice or hearing the thing. Just saying, I'm ready to see this differently. I'm ready to be guided. I'm ready to go the path that's right for me. And just by speaking that and owning that, it just opens up that door for the guides to come in, for the intuitive hits to start to happen. You become more conscious and aware of your surroundings and start picking up on things that you never would have noticed before. So even just that simple statement of, I'm ready to see things differently. I'm ready to feel things differently. I'm ready to do things differently.
I'm ready to feel things, period. And
yeah,
I
I'm ready to feel.
Yeah. And that's where the scariest part is. And I, speaking to, you and I both have a similar, weight story. I myself, my highest was around 240. And that's after, both kids. And, the fact of I'm ready to feel my emotions, period, is such a huge statement, because like you said, the emotions come from the body. And that's why what I've really focused on here on this podcast, especially with tapping into our cycles and our sacred sexuality and everything, it's just really so important. And I'm just so excited. I'm having a great time.
Well, the minute that you sign that, right, that energetic, contract, that you kind of sign that off, that I'm ready to feel, it's like saying to the universe, I'm signed up, I'm ready for the journey.
Yes.
I've started, I'm ready to take the actions, because the universe is going to show up in amazing ways that you can't even begin to even try to think.
Yes.
Like, it's just going to come and lead you in ways that you never thought possible, but you have to be in that space of surrendering to it. And the minute you say that, I'm ready to feel, I'm ready to do this, I'm showing up, I've signed up for the, it's like you're signing up for the, whatever it is, I signed up, I'm ready, I'm here, lead me and let me feel that, and being that for yourself. I think that you kind of talked about that with the mothering figure, right? It's like we at any point in our life can be the mother figure we need to be. We do not, yes, do we have mother wounds we need to heal? We all do, okay? I don't care how wonderful your mom is. There's always There's usually always some
ancient lines here down far.
yeah, there's always something, right? But we fail to remember that we can be that mothering figure for ourselves. And
Yes.
so the moment that we can tap into feeling the feelings we need to feel, it opens up this amazing opportunity to love ourselves through that feeling versus judging ourselves and critiquing ourselves and overthinking it and just beating ourselves down. Like we give ourselves that healing and that space to really connect in deeper with ourselves. And then that's where the work really, I mean, that's where it just starts to take off. I mean, then the universe is like, oh, she is ready to play. Like,
let's do this.
Let's do this shit.
Well, I love that. And I think that's really going to be maybe like the quote when I introduce and get this all set up for everything, is loving ourselves through the feeling. It's really such an important thing. And I'm going to be, honest with you guys out there, for all of you new risers that are coming up and really starting to tap into your goddessness, your alignment. There's going to be some challenges. There's going to be that contrast. There's going to be that dark, that shadow work, which I'll talk and get into in another podcast. But one of the things I want to just express to you is when you get started with this, when you tell the universe and your higher self that you're ready for this, one affirmation that I've learned that has helped me through confusion, because confusion will come. The confusion happens right before the clarity. And that is usually when people start to run, is during that confusion. So this is what has helped me. And Blair, maybe you'll agree with this. I'm pretty sure you will. First of all, I learned this from Amanda Francis. If you are not following Amanda Francis, I highly encourage you to. I know Blair is. But what Amanda has taught me is that even though I am confused right now, I know that there's clarity on the other side. Even though that this is happening right now, I am allowing myself, I can feel that there is clarity on the other side. I choose to know that the other side is coming. So just understand and trust the journey, trust the process of going through the field of thorns. Use those thorns to climb up to get to your roses, and allow the tapping to be one of your main tools, especially as starting. And I still come back to tapping at certain times when I'm feeling like, if I feel like an anxiety attack pop up. Being an empath, you can tap in and you can feel energies from wherever in this planet, or even outside into a different dimension. You can feel some of these energies, and sometimes it's being able to ground myself and run through to be able to understand that everything is okay. I can do this. I am worthy. And I love it. So any resources that you can give to them? And before we go into you letting us know how they can get in touch with you, what you have to offer, any resources that you have, and then I have 3 rapid questions for you.
Okay. So I feel like if anybody really wants to dig deeper into tapping, is really finding the tapping solution. You can just Google them. I know they're on Facebook. I know they're online. They hold events, live events, things like that. They're amazing. They have amazing teachers in that realm of tapping, and they teach it on so many different things of how to use it. And they also have a video that's great that really talks about tapping in schools. So that's really great if that's something you want to learn how to do for your own kid, or even talk about it with your own schools if you're somebody who works in a school or a teacher or whatnot, and looking at that. So I would highly recommend the tapping solution. I think that's great. And then really going onto YouTube, if you're like really all stuck up in your head about it, right? You can go on YouTube and find all sorts of tapping videos. And that's kind of where I really started.
Yeah.
About it, and I was like, I don't really know. And then I started kind of checking out the videos, and it was like that good little jumping point, just so I kind of knew I really got down the flow of the tapping. And then I think another one was Gabby Bernstein has a great, where she breaks down using tapping, and I think she's one who she really got me really being like, I really want to work with this more, with myself, with my clients, because I mean, anything Gabby, I feel like Gabby Bernstein, you can't go wrong.
I know, right? For all of our spirit junkies out there.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
I joke around that if Tony Robbins and Gabby Bernstein have a love child, this would have been born. Born from the love child of Tony Robbins and Gabby Bernstein, and I would have hoped that Oprah was my godmother.
Yeah, right. Well, she's everybody's fairy godmother, so I think
that happened.
That yeah, she's everyone. So you are granted to have Oprah be your fairy godmother. So okay, so 3 fire rapid questions. What's your favorite song?
My favorite song? Ooh. You know, that is a hard one. You know, it's funny. I feel like, oh God, I'm a mix. I love really like hardcore gangster rap music, and I love like hard rock, and like, you know, it's, yeah. So
I don't know. What's your favorite song right now?
Right now. Oh my God, that's so much pressure. You know what? I'll say I listened to Eminem "Lose Yourself" right before I got on this, like 2 hours ago. But having a lot of technical difficulties. But I mean, like me and a couple of my other mentors and girlfriends, that's just kind of like, now it's like a running thing for us. Like, we love that song. We'll jump all around to it. We get all amped up before we're like going to do something, but that's definitely
it for right now. Okay.
Yeah, I would
favorite
say
color?
Favorite color? Ooh, right now I'm going with white. Which is weird because usually I love black, and my husband jokes around that I look like I'm going to a funeral any day, given day of the week. But I'm loving the white energy, man. Like, so I got my nails all white.
That's exciting. And your favorite movie?
Ooh, my favorite movie. Oh my God, what is the name of it? Oh no! How can I not remember this?
Who's in it?
It's got Ryan Reynolds in it. And he's like a corporate, like he's like some high exec in like a music industry, and Anna Faris is like his client, who's like a horrible singer.
Just Friends.
Just Friends.
I love that movie.
Love that movie. Like, I absolutely love that movie. I die laughing, and pretty much anything with Will Ferrell in it, I think you can't go wrong. But like Just Friends, I die laughing.
Yeah. With that Porsche scene, I love it too.
So good.
Okay, so
I like it, so I don't ever get to watch it. I got to watch it when it's like not at work.
You need to set a self-care night to just watch it and just get yourself in a bubble bath and enjoy it. So as we wrap this up, why don't you go ahead and let my listeners know where they can find you, how they can work with you, what kind of services you provide, and we'll also I'll put that in the show notes, and I'll also put it down in the show description down on YouTube. So let us know.
So I'm basically Blair Dreesen across all social media platforms. So that's pretty easy. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I have a YouTube channel. So people can find me all across there. Just search Blair Dreesen. I will pop up everywhere. I do offer private one-on-one coaching. I have 3-month and 6-month packages. So people can just find me on one of those and message me and let me know that that's something they'd be interested in doing. I do also have a free community group on Facebook that I love. It's called my Self-Love Club. That's linked in the bio of my Instagram, or you can probably search it just on Facebook and find the group and you'll see my face. In there, that's where I'm dropping a lot more of, ways that they can work with me. I do a lot of free stuff in there. I'll do free card pulls and readings. I know we and Michelle geek out over that. I do tapping in there a lot of times. I talk about manifestation. I'm working on a lot of really great new things that I'll be launching over in the next couple months. So that is definitely the place to be to get all the information for those things. And then I do offer up just like a 1 hour kind of like, it's like laying kind of like the mindset, like where are we at? Where do we need to go? We can set up a call. We kind of just figure it out, and then kind of like how I can best serve you and mentor you so that I can activate that inside of you, right? Like get you reaching your goal. Because it's not about me doing the work. It's always all about you.
Yeah.
and I want to help you figure that out.
Right, being a facilitator. And what I love so
Yes.
much is the word activate has just been like thrown at me multiple times over these last couple of days. And so I wanted to end this. As a coach, a lot of people out there thinks that coaches are there to trigger. But instead of triggering, coaches are there to help activate. So you're not getting triggered, you're being activated. And so I love that, Blair, that you help women activate this amazing healing ability within themselves, and this ability to heal and remove and shift and redefine and really fall in love with themselves. And so I'm really excited, and thank you so much for being our first guest on the Rising Goddess podcast. And for my listeners out there, yes, get onto YouTube, but make sure you're following the Rising Goddess movement over there, so that way you can follow along and watch us talk, because I love watching people talk, because that's just what I do. So thank you so much, Blair, for being on, and thank you guys, everybody, and we'll catch you next time, and have a great day.
Yay.